Dr. Allison Bremner here with Cultivating Success, the podcast geared towards students and recent grads and helping you guys navigate the business and marketing that takes to have a chiropractic practice. I hope you're ready to get your hustle on. We got James Chester here today with Chiro Hustle, the #1 podcast in chiropractic. And he's going to be talking about ways to grow your business, what's essential to make it in 2023 as a chiropractor. Get ready. Here we go. Hey, man, thanks for coming on the show.
It's a real pleasure. I hope that I can offer some takeaways to your audience today. And my best advice would be to get a pen and paper. We might say a couple of things during this podcast episode that you want to take notes on.
For sure. You definitely want to take notes on this. And we talked about this earlier. Definitely confused in the beginning. I think a lot of people think you're a chiropractor, but how'd you get into the profession?
Yeah, it's a really awesome story. It's really organic. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. A lot of people know that that's the birthplace of chiropractic. I was working as a bartender at a piano bar, and my door guy was playing rugby for Palmer. And he's like, "Hey, man, I'm about to finish up school. Do you want to come up and help me run my office in Chicago?" I was like, "Bro, I don't know anything about chiropractic other than the fact that when I get adjusted, I feel better." And he's like, "That's plenty. I'll teach you everything you need to know. I'll teach you how to work with the patients. I'll teach you how to do the marketing. And I think that you're going to have a lot of fun doing it." I mean, I was pretty set. Life was pretty good. And then I went to work in the chiropractic office and I learned so much about service. I learned so much about the profession, how different parts of the medical world want to control chiropractic, how chiropractic was a standalone profession. I just learned so much going up there and working with him. And then I said, what's next? So I've just been asking myself, what's next a whole lot over the past 14 years. And I'm glad I got my fundamentals set as a chiropractic worker, working in a high volume office. And I started seeing these miracles. I started seeing how people responded to care. And I just found my home there. So I told you earlier, I get so many emails that say Dr. Chester, and I just had to reply back kindly, "Hey, I'm just an advocate and a podcaster."
Well, that's probably why you communicate chiropractic so well, because I think that a lot of docs it's tough for them to communicate what they do, and they say it in a weird way that the general public's like, that's weird. But as a consumer and as, someone who loves chiropractic, I think that you're actually much better suited to communicate that to the general public.
I'm just a passionate person. And anybody that talks to me, they're like, "Wow, you really love everything that you do." And pretty much if I'm in it, there's a reason for it because I enjoy it.
Well, man, that's the best way to live. Why would you want to do something you don't love? That sounds terrible. A lot of times I talk to young docs and I was like, I just want to prepare you. Your patients, a lot of times, they don't like their life so much and they don't like their job. So they love coming to the office because it's like, hey, I don't really understand what you do here exactly, but man, I feel great, not just physically, but emotionally because you're fired up. So I think that you should really think of it as a blessing, getting involved in chiropractic because it's something to be excited about every day.
So the first movie that I made is called Chiropractic, the documentary. I had aspirations early on in the film when I was making it and building out the sequencing. I was going to call it How Chiropractic Saved My Spine. And I think that people don't understand how important spinal health is. And I still talk to people this day that they're like, "Oh, why would I see a chiropractor? I'm fine." And
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. The public's perception needs a whole lot more PR.
Yeah, well, you've obviously done a lot with your podcast and you're crushing it, crushing everybody in the podcast level. So I appreciate all the stuff that you do and the hustle. And, I reach out to people and you were just so on time and so on top of it. And I was like, this is going to be great. I was super excited because sometimes people are just are lazy, I'm not sure if you've experienced that, but you trying to collaborate with somebody and they just aren't getting it together.
Yeah, I take journalistic effort really serious. That's another part that most people don't know is I got a degree in journalism. So running a
Oh,
podcast and making movies,
yeah.
it's not just a guy that said, "Hey, I'm going to get a couple cameras and see what we can do." No, I was really serious about telling the chiropractic story. And I think that after 1,100 interviews in 5 years, that's all we've been doing. And I think that that's what's really special is we've been able to build relationships with that many practitioners and supporters of the profession to get them to speak about what makes them unique and how the profession's so amazing.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I didn't know that. And I'm sure some people that might even listen to your stuff didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Well, let's kind of get into some of the things we were talking about that we want to let students and young docs know. And this is like the number one thing, right? It's like I'm in practice, whether I'm an associate or, my own practice. And how do you grow a practice? I think that sometimes students get out and they have what they think they should do, or maybe they have no idea. And, if they haven't had experience doing that, then they can get kind of stuck.
Yeah. Having a diploma and passing boards doesn't necessarily mean success.
Uh-huh.
I think that you have to be a dynamic adjuster. First and foremost, become the best adjuster in the world that you can be. That's what saves lives. Everything else is extra, but I think you really have to be like a really solid adjuster, and you have to take care of yourself as well. I think you have to be congruent, and you have to like have your nervous system tuned, and you have to have your spinal health on. So I think fundamentally those things are really important. But being a young grad and a new person out there, a fledgling chiropractor, you just have to be really creative with new school and old school marketing and know what to do and have a plan.
Yeah, I think a plan and being resilient, because a lot of stuff doesn't work. And then some stuff does work. And sometimes things work that maybe didn't work the first time because you didn't communicate right or maybe you didn't implement it right. And I think that you have to, I played a lot of high level sports. And so I think that that helps, because when you are first learning a sport, you're crap at it. And so you have to get better. And I think that that happens in practice. You get better at things.
Yeah. I just think that over life of being the practitioner, it should be fun to them. They should be like stoked to go to practice every day, and they should be like super excited to like take care of their communities. I think one of the best takeaways I could share with anybody to kind of get dialed in as to like how they want to run their practice is understand who your avatar is. Get really crystal clear. Know how far they live from your practice, know how much money they make, give them a name, find out what their hobbies are, find out where they hang out, and like really get clear on who the person is that you want to show up to your office. Because I learned from a lot of docs, if you don't take care of like a certain specific avatar type practice, then you get clogged up with all types of cases.
Oh, yeah.
And it might not be that much fun to take care of people that just are in a different state of mind and a different pattern of life.
Everybody has who they work with best. And so we call that ideal client. That's the terminology that I use. I haven't heard of avatar. I like that. I like that. But yeah, if you can figure out who you love to see and you love to help and they love you, then it's going to be easy. But it can take some time, because sometimes I know when I first started, I thought, like when I was early, like in school, I was like, oh, I'm going to take care of athletes because I was an athlete. And I realized they're terrible patients, because they're like, they don't want to be better. They're like, my shoulder hurts. And I'm like, your nervous system. They're like, elbow, it hurts. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh. So then later down the road, I realized we call our ideal client Michelle. And it's like the demographic, and it's perfect for our office. So I love that, because, man, yeah, if you get some cases, like you said, that maybe don't fit your office, then that's not going to make this enjoyable.
And I think there's other ways to do this too, is not only be clear on who you want to take care of, but I think it's important to have like interpersonal relationships with other practitioners in the city that
Hmm.
you live in. I think it would behoove you not to build a relationship with a PI attorney. I think it'd behoove you not to have a relationship with an urgent care. I think you have to start establishing these types of relationships because they're looking for you. They just don't know it. And I know this is probably an ugly word, but the joint, they don't take hot cases. They don't shoot x-rays. They don't take trauma cases. And if you build a relationship with that group, they would be a huge referral source back to your business.
Yeah, I love that, professional referrals. So, like, how would you say you go about making those relationships in your community?
Um, Best thing to do is be insistent, like you said earlier, over it, through it, under it, whatever it takes. Offer coffee dates, create a podcast, call it Grand Junction Spotlight. Say, hey, I have a podcast I want to feature on my show. I want to talk about your business. What you can do is go find the businesses that you go to and ask them, say, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. It's going to be 20-minute sessions. We're going to talk about you and your business in the community spotlight of Grand Junction. Do you want to do that? Pretty cool. I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to do it.
And I think that who's open to it, then that's going to be referral source, right? Because if you go to, let's say, a lawyer and they kind of brush you off, well, even if you got that, relationship, they may or may not refer later because they just weren't open to it. But if they're open to it, then there's going to be a reciprocal back and forth.
I was just talking to my business partner before we did this. And I said, do you know how many times that relationships are built from a screen these days rather than in person?
Yeah.
And it speeds it up. It gives people the opportunity to get to know you. You become referable at that point. But I think we don't stop there. I think you should take a chiropractor out to lunch that's in your local community, like one a month, and just build your community of people that are like you. I always tell people we're more alike than we are different. And if you can build that like network, the profession gets stronger.
Yeah, and I think if you turn away from the idea of like me and them, right? It's like these are my people, I'm not going to expose them to anyone else, then you just energetically shut that off, right? But if you're open, and especially just the way that the universe works with like buying someone lunch and like having them in, like I just created this little coffee lounge in my office. So I hired a new associate and I'm like, this is for you. So you bring people in here and we're just going to stock it full of whatever you want. Best coffee, best tea, best snacks. So that people just want to come in and hang out with you. And maybe they become patients, maybe they don't. Maybe they refer, maybe they don't. But I think that like I love the idea of building those relationships.
There's an old saying, no one eats in an empty restaurant.
Yeah, for sure.
People will wait in line if the cooking's good for 45 minutes and they'll just sit on their phones or do whatever they do. They will wait in line for that food if the restaurant's good.
Yeah.
They'll do the same thing about your chiropractic services.
Yeah, just get some energy, man. Like good energy into the office is always like that. So this week I was by myself, both my associates were on vacation and it sucked. Because the energy wasn't, it was just like me sitting there before everyone gets there. And I'm just like, normally we have a little meeting and then lunch, I was just sitting there by myself. And I just think that good energy, I like working in team aspects. So if you're a solo practitioner, think, like this is your team in your community, or if you're in an office and you have a team, like I work better like that personally.
I think that the better unit that you have inside of your office space, the better outcomes for the people you take care of and the better state of mind that you come to work with.
Definitely. Well, obviously you're known for like, getting your hustle on. Let's talk about that. So like if people are trying to grow their practice and it's essential what they're doing in 2023 coming up, like how do you get your hustle on? Like what should you hustle for hard? Is there time to take breaks, or do you think it's just always hustle mode?
I think everybody should find ways to balance out life. I mean, you should adopt a meditation strategy. You should get plenty of sleep. I think that there's certain things that the person has to do. They have to stay physically fit. They should eat something green every day. I think that just taking care of the person is important. But I think that if you're talking more chiropractic related things in 2023, they just have to have a strategy. They have to have their social media plan. They have to have their new patient strategic plan in place. Like, who am I going to go get and how am I going to get them? And I think you should understand old school marketing, shaking hands and kissing babies in your community. But I also think that you should understand new school marketing, like run a Facebook page, making the reels on Instagram. I don't know. I think TikTok's doing pretty good too. I think that if people want to like do it though, they have to understand that chiropractic wasn't established on social media. Chiropractic was established as a service-based profession. And you had to go out there and meet people in your community in order to make a practice. Nowadays, we have the internet, and I think it's a lot easier for us when we have good content. I don't think people are going to stop watching videos on their cell phones and their devices. I think people are only going to become more engaged. So you have to be there too. I mean, you have to like think about all levels of engagement.
Yeah, I think that sometimes chiropractors, they want to do one or the other. They're like, well, I just want to I don't want to be online. That seems weird and sleazy. I don't want to make videos. And I just want to do good work, get referrals, which is great. But I think that you do need to do both. You've got to be able to in person, be able to have a conversation, get a referral, and be able to communicate to the community online.
You scale to your acceptance of spending money on advertising, and you scale to your acceptance of new ideas and being uncomfortable. If you can master those things, learning how to spend money effectively and learning how to master your time effectively, you're going to be a happy chiropractor. But if you're cost averse and you're like, oh, that doesn't work, that wastes money, that wastes time, then it's probably not going to be fruitful for you.
Yeah, I think that especially like in advertising, it's not a perfect science. It's a little bit of an art form, and I think that chiropractors get frustrated really easily, very quickly. Have you found this working with clients? So they're just like, we've done this for 2 weeks and it's not working.
Mm, absolutely. I think it's all about nurturing and customer service of the actual offices that we work with. To me, it's not about being an agency. I think it's about building a reputation. And I think that there's a lot of people that came into the chiropractic space because they looked at them as low hanging fruit. They went to a Ty Lopez seminar over the weekend and learned how to run ads. They're like,
Mm,
we're gonna send 30 messages a day through Facebook Messenger to every chiropractor we can get our hands on. I don't
right.
know what
Yeah.
it, but I don't know what a subluxation is. I don't know what a care plan is. I don't even know what the different techniques of adjusting are. So I
Yeah, they're
think that
just
that became a problem.
sure, definitely. Where they're just like, I will have warm bodies in the door for you. What else do you want?
Hmm.
And yeah, the relate, and then that can be a tough thing, right? Because it's not, if your marketing firm doesn't understand you as a practitioner or your ideal client or and all those things, it's just going to be spending a lot of money on people that may or may not fit into your office.
And when you think about like acquiring those people, now you need to know how to convert them.
Yeah,
You need to know how to take that lead in that comes from a Facebook ad, and you need to know how to talk to them on their first visit. You need to know how to convert them to a care plan. And if you're cash, you better get really good at that.
definitely. I think we take 100% cash, and I love that in my response always. I think that students get very nervous when someone calls in like, "Hey, do you take insurance?" Because they think that if you say no, then they're just like going to hang up the phone. That's not always true. Sometimes they're just asking. It's like, I have this expired coupon. Do you take it? No, I don't. And they're like, oh, okay, I didn't think you did. But if you're able to have that really high customer service in that relationship that you're talking about, it doesn't become a bad thing because it becomes a positive thing. It's like, hey, well, we obviously have to get great results here, or people wouldn't be paying us out of pocket. And they're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the conversation has to be nurtured. It has to be like worked on. It has to be like, I don't say scripts are best, but you have to practice.
I
Like
think
you
creating
have,
your own scripts, right? It
yeah,
doesn't have to be a downloaded something you heard, but like you should be, yeah, practicing it
you have to get really smooth at talking to people.
for sure. Well, I mean, could you give us an example if someone came from Facebook, they come into the office, how would you nurture that conversation with someone who's never really met the office before?
Well, I'd just be real professional about it. I'd tell them that here we run a 2-visit system. On the first visit, we do a full exam, consultation, health history. We shoot x-rays. We find out what's going on in the x-rays. We do a full report on that. We check your posture. We do some orthopedic testing on you. We find out what's going on with your body. You come back for the second visit, call it the report of findings. We tell you what we found. We tell you how much concern there's. We tell you how we can help you. I call those first 2 visits the relationship builder. If you come in for the first 2 visits, you feel like this is the right place for you. You feel like you want to be here, then we go forward with care. If you come in for these first 2 visits, you realize this isn't the right place for you, then there's no strings attached for further care. But I tell them all this. I guarantee you one thing, you're going to like us. And it's all about building rapport. And if you can talk to somebody like that and they know what their expectations are and they know what you are offering to them, you tell them how you can help them, you've already killed their objections. The only 2 things now you have to worry about is their next level of objections. That's this, how long will this take? How much will this cost? So if you can like learn that conversation, you're going to be the most successful chiropractor you could ever be.
Yeah, and I love that, right? Because you didn't say anything about your technique or get too scientific, or it's all about them, how you are going to be honest and upfront. And hey, man, if this isn't for you, that's okay. It's not this like hardcore pressure, you're going to die if you don't come in. That kind of tactic, I think, is nutso, and which unfortunately gives chiropractic that sometimes, people are like leery of chiropractors, but just, yeah, be yourself, be honest and authentic. And that's what people want. They just want to feel like it's a place for them.
And I would always tell people, tell them you're going to treat them like you would your own family. Like if you were my mom and you came in, I'm going to give you the same recommendations I'd give my mother.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to come across like if before you start your day, being able to like mentally put that into your brain, and then that comes across the way you're communicating, that comes across in the energy of your office, and all these things I think are really overlooked, because as soon as you're like, hey, you need to work on your scripts and your sales and marketing, chiropractors get like really tense. That's sleazy, that's slimy, that's, beneath me. And it couldn't be further than the truth. That's actually that's the part where you, like you said, you're making that rapport. You're creating that environment for them.
And when somebody shows up to your office that's never been there before, you got to treat them like family. You can't treat them like a chart, but you have to be professional in the same breath.
Yeah.
Like you have to have good systems in place, but you have to make sure that person feels like you are the authority with their decision making, and you're going to give them the best recommendations.
Yeah, it is a very tricky line to be, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, but in a way that makes them think that they've made the decision, right? And so that, again, that comes from practice. And you need what we call for associates is at bats. So I think if you are, one of the terrible things I say in chiropractic is that the clinic directors don't give enough patience to their associates, because some of them are just they need at bats, they need tries. You can't, I mean, you can rehearse it all day long, but it's not the same unless you have a flood of patients coming to your associates so that they get good at that.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to learn how to have authority. And that's a part about being the person that gives the recommendation and delivers the goods. You have to have so much confidence that the people are just going to like automatically feel from you that you're the right choice for them. And whether that's an associate job or you're the like senior doc somewhere, you also have to like know that you have to relinquish some of this control to the people that you bring on. So they feel like they're actually performing and producing and they're a part of the team, and they're not just like waiting for like, the late innings. And
Right.
I think people want to play in the game. If they're joining a team, you got to treat them like a teammate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good analogy, right? So we're not just trying to put you in and we're beating the team by 120 points, and then you get to go in where it doesn't even matter anymore, right? Like, yeah, you want some like real time work, like, you're going in when it matters. You're getting the patients that I would be saying you're getting to see them because I trust you. Otherwise, like, why would you bring that person on to your practice to begin with if you didn't trust them?
Well, the other part I tell people when they're hiring a team is they should hire like they're going for a championship title. Like your CA, your office manager, your associate, you should take care of them like you're going to go win the Super Bowl. You should build that team out like you're going to win every game you play. And you have to like play to win. And I think that if you had that type of mindset, you wouldn't hire people that weren't congruent from the jump. You'd only
Yeah.
you'd only give the 3-year contract to winners. You'd only give the 5-year contract to somebody that's like a star. Build your team with those people.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I was just talking about, I'm rewatching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, if you guys don't know what that is.
Oh yeah, I've watched it.
Oh, it's great. And I was just thinking about the programs that I've been involved with my entire life, some good, some bad. And the top level involvement I've been at where winning was very like the most important thing. However, those top programs also made you a better person. And I want that for my associates is we're here to win, but we're also here to make you the best possible version of yourself. And I think that at the end of the day, that makes a championship team. And I love that. Yeah, in your mindset, this is like your team, and you're here to win, and you need to make systems so that they can win.
I mean, how many times have you, Dr. Allison, how many times have you worked with an office and they hired on their perfect associate and it blew up in 90 days? Or how many times have you heard of somebody that like hired a CA or an office manager and in 2 weeks they're bounced and they just left? These are the concerns I see. So if
Mm-hmm.
people really want to build a legacy practice and not always be hiring people and looking for people to work with you, like you have to hire these people for a 3-year season. You have to think about like your season as a 3-year process, because most people don't stay at jobs for more than 2 to 3 years. So if you can get somebody constructively to buy into you and want to be there every day, those are the people that are going to take the pressure and noise off you.
Definitely. I mean, we're in a conversation now that we didn't really plan on having, but I really like it. And I think it's very valuable for new students and docs. What would you say would be like if you're a student right now and you're like, hey, I really want to actually get into an associate position that's going to value me. What traits do you think out of school is that rock star, that superstar?
Understand, and this might come across wrong, but I think it's so funny and good. You have to know how to do the flying sevens.
Okay.
Like you have to know how to move a bone. You can't come on to an associate job and need to be retrained on how to adjust. That's a no-no. That's a landmine. That
Because
you're
yeah,
gonna blow up. Like if you go into an associate job, and you don't know how to move a bone or do the technique that the practice practices, you're gonna step on a landmine and blow up. And it's gonna blow up for you and the person that trusted you.
definitely. I mean, you come in, the doctor should be helping you with mostly the business part of it and a little bit of chiropractic. It's not the I think that sometimes that's a misconception that's like, oh, I want a mentorship about the chiropractic. And of course they should be helping you, but like this is game time where we're talking about how to get patients in, how to communicate, how to make sure that this is a business for you and for the office.
Yeah, so I think associates like coming right out of school or people that are looking for gigs right out of school, number one, adjustment. Number two, be solid in your philosophy. Open up a green book every once in a while. Understand that there is a reason why this profession exists the way that it does. Understand the lexicon, like understand the words that this profession is founded upon. You know, my opener is we protect freedom of speech. We protect BJ Palmer's sacred trust. We protect family freedom. We believe those things are important. So if you want to believe something that's important, believe in it so much that that's who you become. You know, I tell people we believe in subluxation based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence, that when someone gets adjusted, it connects man or woman, the physical, to man or woman, the spiritual. So if you don't know that stuff and you're going out to chiropractic to practice, you better brush up on that stuff. You better know the 33 principles. Like there's certain fundamentals that a chiropractic student needs to know to just have a firm understanding of why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, man. And I do knee, chest, upper cervical, and I was going down to Palmer, Florida, and they're trying to keep upper cervical alive down there. And it is shocking how many like have never even heard of philosophy or a green book or any. It's kind of scary. But the thing is, no matter what school you go to, you have access to it. And especially now, like you're saying, with the internet and having a screen, you can get some mentors and figure that out while you're in school, because practice is hard, man. And the biggest difference of why chiropractors stay fired up is because they have a solid foundation of philosophy. I'm a big Dan Kennedy person. I think he died, but one of my favorite marketing guys, and he used to do marketing for chiropractors and dentists. And he's like, I could just tell immediately. I could meet one of my clients and be like, "You're a chiropractor," because there's a difference.
Yeah, and I am too. And I think like when a student's like looking for success, they should find out how to develop double-digit new patients every week, whether that's going out and joining the Chamber of Commerce and building referrals long term, whether that's when you get a practice started, asking for handing out 4 referral cards every Monday and asking for them to pass these out to people that they love that you can help. I think that that's a no-brainer effort. I just think that there's so many ways for people to like interact with their business and grow as they go. I think that you have to join the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, it's like one of those things that it's kind of like mind numbing and it's kind of boring, but that's where the business people are, the movers and shakers in your community hang out. The Business Network International groups, those groups are where the people they love to send their people to the people they work with, and that's in their network. So I think
Well,
building your
yeah.
network.
Yeah, you got to get out there and meet people. And it's interesting because everyone's going to have different strengths and weaknesses. And networking, quite frankly, is a skill. And I think some people think that, like, oh, you're an extrovert, you're an introvert. And I'm like, okay, maybe that you have better skills, but like networking is a skill over time and you can practice it and you should.
I think we can be both. I think they call them ambiverts.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that most of us portray traits of both an introvert and an extrovert. It's just how can we actually live in the space once we're portraying those characteristics? And if you look it up, the words out there is called an ambivert. And I think people portray both of those. So that's not like one or the other. It's probably a mixture of those two things, but you have to learn when to turn that switch on.
Sure. And like you said, it's really important. And like for me, networking can be a little bit draining, but I know that if I schedule it, I know why I'm doing it, and then I have something. For me, sports is my reset. And I
Mhm.
think that that's super important for docs, man. You got to have something where you can just be you. You don't have to be like Dr. Blah, blah, blah anymore. You can just be like, I'm Allison here. This is my time and space, and I can reset. What do you like to do? I'm interested to know what's your reset.
You know, I do travel a lot. I used to enjoy travel a whole lot more than I do right now.
Okay.
The airlines have been pretty unpredictable. And I mean, bless them. They get me to and from safe. It might take a little bit longer. I'm not riding a horse and carriage across the United States. Nobody's trying to like, rob me on the road. I'm not driving somewhere. So bless them for getting me safe. I don't want to like, pity party for the airline industry, but it has been more challenging. I do love to travel. I like to go and be around groups. I like to go to seminars. So that stuff like really fires me up. I'm a hiker. We both live in the state of Colorado. I've done 13, 14ers.
Nice. How many
My
are there
butt,
in Colorado?
there's 54.
54.
I went hiking with my buddy yesterday. He's a chiropractor out here. He's done 47 of them. It's
Holy
wild.
smokes. How
It's
many years
wild.
it take him to do that?
5 years.
Dang.
He's been on it.
He's
And,
getting his
and,
hustle on with 14ers.
and he's 55. So when people say I'm old at like 50 or whatever, like you're not old.
Well, you
can do
might not have been to
anything you want.
Colorado. When I first moved to Colorado in Boulder, I was doing this hike and this like 65-year-old woman was like, out of my way. I was like, oh no. And she like ran past me up this like 45-degree angle, steep thing. I was like, oh, where am I? What's happening?
Yeah, I've been out in Colorado for 10 years. So hiking is a culture out here. It's really cool. I embrace it. I think it's healthy. I like to weight train. I love lifting heavy stuff. I just turned 44. Most times when I meet people, they have a hard time guessing I'm anywhere over 40. So it's kind of cool. I think, I meditate daily. I pray daily. I read a daily devotional. I attend church. I think that we have to be like as equally balanced with our spiritual life as we are with our strength of muscle. I think we have to be equally balanced with our relationships as we are with our finances. I think that if you focus on your body, your being, your balance, and your business, you're going to be sorted out. And I've been following a certain protocol for myself to take care of my body every day, to honor it, to make sure that I'm honoring my relationships with people, to make sure that I'm honoring meditation, prayer, affirmations, daily devotional, journaling. And then lastly, I have to really focus on my business. I have to learn something new. I have to watch a video, read something, listen to a podcast, and then I either have to teach or declare that. So I think that the more that we work on ourselves, the more we find that the channels of hobbies are more fun, work's more fun, relationships are more fun. And I think it all starts with you. You have to take care of you.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself. You got to have some self-discipline. I just turned 40 myself. And yeah, I've been doing a lot of sauna rehab. Like I go in a 200-degree sauna for like 20 minutes and do like stretching, and it's more recovery now. And but what I've noticed with being a little older athlete is that I don't know, you appreciate it a little bit more. Like you're taking care of your body instead of just thrashing your body. I kind of wish I would have done this a little bit sooner, like when I was in my 30s.
Yeah, I mean, I also played soccer collegiately. I played soccer for 22 years, played over in Europe. So I know what it's all like to be an advanced stage athlete and to deal with some of the troubles of, beating your body up for years. So I do a hyperbaric chamber weekly. I get checked and adjusted weekly. Yeah, I think that we have to do more recovery. I do yoga. I think that the more that people focus on flexibility, their body's healthier long term. If you get tight muscles and they get like shortened up, it's going to cause injuries. And you're not going to be as strong as you once were. And I think that, men, I can speak for men, we lose 1% of muscle mass every year after we turn 40. So if you're not weight training and building up your like actual body to be stronger, you will get weak.
You should do a podcast on over 40 being an athlete. How are you still able to be an athlete over 40? All the stuff that you're doing. That's awesome.
I'm sure a lot of people listen, right?
I mean, I think so. I think people want to stay healthier longer, but like you got to keep it up. You can't, there's no taking a lot of time off, because once you start doing that, it's not good.
Yeah. I mean, I have an acupuncturist too. I think that the most important thing is people to be open-minded and practice good nutrition and know that you can either go into a path of least resistance, or you can wait till it falls apart. Like most people that show up to a chiropractic office, and then then you have a long road to hoe. And I think that that's a part is like, you can either wait till your body completely breaks down and look for somebody to save your life, or you can find practitioners that you can lean on, and you can do therapies, and you can find ways to keep yourself healthy as you age.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things you're talking about is, getting adjusted. And of course, obviously most chiropractors get adjusted, but I think that there is something to be said about making an appointment, at the very least, making an appointment and even paying for it. Like you are then, how do you feel about that?
I pay for mine.
Yeah.
Like I have 5 chiropractor friends in town. I could go to see every single one of them and not pay them $1, and they just see me.
Mm-hmm.
I pay for all my care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Again, like you say, you're honoring your own profession and your own body. I think you get better results. Like right now, my shoulder, I'm hitting left-handed. I play two-man sand volleyball because my shoulder's not great. And I have now, because at first I was just like, oh, work on my associate. I was like, work on my shoulder. And it was like wasn't getting better, because I was just like doing it in between our meetings instead of like, okay, now I know a guy, I'm going to go down there, I'm going to pay for care, and I'm going to have him work on it, because I'm just going to be the patient and let him take care of my body and let my body heal.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that we all have to subordinate a little bit and manage our schedules better and learn that there's somebody else that wants to take care of us as much as we want to take care of them.
Yeah, it's a nice experience too. We don't have to actually do anything. You're just like, I just show up. It's great. Yeah, well, I guess, we're coming down kind of the end here. I guess we kind of answered this, but why the podcast? Why do you think it's important for you to create this niche, very small niche chiropractic podcast? Why do you think that's important?
Um, I looked at it and I spoke to this guy early on in my career, and he told me that chiropractic had negative brand equity. And then as I was studying to make the first movie, Chiropractic, the documentary, I started to understand that there were people out there that were really philosophically charged up. And one of their big triumphant moments was just to say, tell the story. So I've done everything under the sun over the past 5 years, 7, 10 years to tell the story. I've done it selflessly. I never did any of this to make money. I just did it because I had a love for telling the chiropractic story. And I always tell somebody, if you find somebody that's better at it than me, I want to meet them. And I always tell somebody that if somebody does it better than me, like keep going. But I think I set a standard with what we've done, and it's really empowered the profession. I tell every chiropractor I interview that we're creating a tapestry of stories about this beautiful profession of chiropractic. And if you believe in the big idea, BJ Palmer would have been working right beside me. So I really believe that historical reference of telling the story is what we do now. We just tell the story in a different medium. We put them on different platforms, and we curate content a little bit differently. And I've fallen in love with this profession. And I think every time I'm actually feeling choked up, every time I get to do a show, I feel such an honor, and it's so much fun for me. So I think that if you go into what you do and you love it that much, they're like love letters to chiropractic, you know? And I think everybody has a story that's inside of them. And if you just ask them to tell it, they can't wait.
Yeah, well, that passion comes through, that excitement, right? And like at the end of the day, honestly, that's what people need because there's so much negativity and so much disempowerment. And I think that the thing chiropractic has, I mean, not just like the physical part of chiropractic, but like what chiropractors stand for. And I think it's, human potential. And I think that comes across. And when chiropractors tell their story, typically that's what happens, right? Something changes. They have a change in their life. And so they realize something is different, the potential inside them. And then they want to see that unlock in other people.
And when you understand the things above, down, inside out, the power that made the body heals the body, the Edison quote that the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but he'll interest his patients in the care and prevention of disease and the care of the human frame. And the BJ Palmer quote, you never know how far reaching something you do or say today will have the impact on millions of lives tomorrow. Like if you understand those things, how could you not fall in love with chiropractic?
Yeah, I mean it's simple, but people are looking for that. They just don't know it's chiropractic.
They don't. They don't. They don't. They think it's a diet. They think it's a gym. They think it's a Peloton bike. They think it's a CrossFit. They think it's a whatever the fad is. They just don't know that chiropractic was the original biohack.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I'm sure docs tell you this all the time. That people come in their office and they're like, I was looking for you. Like I didn't know it was you, but I've been, this is what I've been looking for. They say it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I go to biohacking seminars and I see these people with like, I don't know, they have everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, chiropractic's OG biohacking. It was the first. You guys realize that all disease and problems in the human body came from the nervous system and the spine.
Yeah.
Find it, fix
You
it,
don't
find
have
it,
to,
fix it,
you
find
don't
it,
have to
fix it, leave it
wear,
alone.
yeah, you don't have to wear like a pyramid on your head or like whatever.
Find it, fix it, leave it alone. Go Gonstead with it, like find it, fix it, leave it alone. The body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. And I
Yeah.
think those are the things that matter to this profession is chiropractic is a big idea and there is nothing bigger than your life.
Yeah. And again, I just think chiropractors, I think that it's not really a passion problem. It's a marketing issue that we're having. And if we can get the marketing right and we get the message right, I think that people now more than ever, I think are looking for you. They just don't know it.
Yeah. And if people are looking for marketing help, hopefully I can be of service to them.
Yeah, so you're saying you have a survey. Tell us a little about that. So like you basically you survey offices and they fill it out and then kind of see if it's the right fit.
The way it works is you pretty much let me know what's going on with your life and I get to know you. And if it seems like we have a good connection there, it's all automated. One of our team reaches out, they have a quick discovery call, and then we see what we can do to help you out. But I think that once again, nurturing that relationship long term matters to me the most. If I wanted to go out and make a bunch of money, I'd work for somebody. But I want to like make sure that we're actually earning the business of our clients. And that's old school. My job is to earn the business of anybody that I work with. And I don't want an attrition rate of my audience and of my clients, and reputation really matters. So I think that survey sets us up for a really good nurturing sequence to find out who you are, what your pain points are, and it already tells me how I can help you and if you want help.
Awesome. What's the best way if someone's listening to this and like I would like to at least do a survey or a discovery call? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
I would say go to our website, chirohustle.com. You can always email me through the website. I'm very responsive. I get everything that comes through. You can find me on Facebook, James Chester. You can send me a message. I'm always available. I think that those are the best two ways. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely put the link of your website in the description of this podcast. So you can definitely find it there. Anything else that you think would be super helpful for, well, I mean, I keep saying new grads and students, but really chiropractors.
At the end of the day, you get a chance to either leave a legacy or live troubled, and you can choose either. It's a choice. And if you want to really like leave a legacy, then make that your objective. And all the small troubles that you deal with on a day to day, they won't even matter. They're always going to pop up. But if you have like your North Star clear, you know where you're going, nothing will knock you off your course. So leave your legacy. Be proud of the work that you do. Be super proud to be a chiropractor, and go out there and save some lives.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it really takes about the same amount of work if you want to be inspired or let things drag you down.
Mm-hmm.
That's your choice. I always end this with asking two questions since this is a business podcast, but what do you think is your best business decision that you personally made for yourself?
I decided to be more consistent than anyone else in the chiropractic marketplace. I decided to make my name household. I decided to be omnipresent. Those are the best decisions I ever made. And not to just be like Napoleon Hill, be known, liked, and trusted. I want to be known, loved, and trusted. And I think that that's the most valuable quotient you can actually like look at human connection to. Do I trust you?
Oh
Does he
yeah.
work hard? Does he show up? Even earlier on in our interview, you're like, I knew this was going to be good because you're so responsive.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that comes across too. And it's amazing. This is not just a chiropractic thing, but it's amazing in business. We've been in business long enough that it's how unresponsive people are. And they just like don't show up to things. So yeah, just being like, hey, I'm gonna be strong to my word. I think that always is gonna make a difference.
Consistency. And people do, they base their lives on a couple of things, their times, their talents, and their treasures. And if you can figure out how to give those things appropriately to the different parts of your life, then you're going to be successful.
Yeah. Well, how about your worst decision that you made in the last 10 years for business?
Oh, I think that's a really good question. You can't forecast the future, and you can't forecast how relationships shift. Um, I would say always when you're feel like you made a bad decision or something didn't go the way you wanted to, be as kind as you can through it, and be as accommodating to people that might have like made you feel upset about a decision that you made, and be big about it. And I think that if I could inspire anybody to deal with things that didn't go well or things that upset them, is do it with class, and just know that that person's probably feeling just as bad as you are, or that situation feels just as bad as you are. And it doesn't feel good when somebody's not kind to you. So I'd say no matter what it was with me, I always want people to know that I care about them more than the situation.
Yeah, because down 5 years down the road where that emotion has burnt off, and if you totally stuck some dynamite and blew up a bridge, that's a lot tougher to mend if you want to. Maybe you don't ever want to, which is also fine. But like, yeah, I know some people when they in a relationship, it's just this explosion. It's like, ooh, like you might want to. You never know, like that person could be useful to you down the road, or just like you personally, that's burden on you how
It
you
is.
acted.
And there's an old saying that you have to respect people on your way down, because one day you might be looking up at them. People are always rising to power around you. And there's always going to be somebody. It's like in the NFL, there's always a second and third string quarterback that are going to be the next Pro Bowl selection. So there's always somebody else out there that's rising up. And whether it's James Chester that rises up in chiropractic, or whether it's the next person that rises up in chiropractic, there's always a next man or next woman up mentality. So be kind to people as they're nobodies.
Yeah, you never know. You never know who it's going to be.
There's always somebody that rises to power that you didn't expect.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because they're just quietly grinding and hustling. And it's just not in the public arena. They're doing it at home. They're doing it in their mind, and you don't think that they're going to be successful, but they know. They in their head.
Kindness always wins.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming on today, and yes, being responsive. And I'm stoked for 2023. And I think this is the perfect podcast, the perfect episode to start that off, because like we're in the best profession possible. So you should just wake up and be stoked. And January's perfect to get your hustle on.
Well, thank you, Dr. Allison, for having me on for your podcast. It was a real pleasure.
You are welcome. Well, guys, this drops the first Monday of the month and the third Monday. We're gonna have some other awesome guests coming on. Thanks a lot, James. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much.